Hello everyone. Let's today have some Italian game. Why? Because Italian game implements chess principles the best way. The beginning chess principles like develop into the center, take a center with the pawns. That's why every beginner, every new chess player must try it somehow. So let's check how you should try it and how you shouldn't try it. So let's start as usual. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4. So we play this whole initial move, development move, and here we have two responses actually for black. Knight F6, but we already watched these variations. We played knight G5 attacking F7 point. Just watch Figatello attack video if you haven't yet. It's really useful. So that's why just play bishop C4, C5. Also the most often response. Bishop C5. So we go to Italian. And here we, of course, continue development. For white, c3, knight f6, d3, castling, we also castling. And here the trap is that we have typical Italian symmetry on the board, which is not really advanced for white because we play white, we want to be a step forward. But here if you play patterny, seems to be correct because it's beginning, it's development, but you go into the symmetry trap. Of course, we try to pin it, we put our knight to the center, we play on this pin for white, but the truth is that black do exactly the same at exactly the same time. We double their pawns, and black also could double our pawns. Like we take this knight to f6, black could also take our knight to f3, and again this symmetric, of course, both kings would hide to the corner, both rooks would go to this open file, but it's really at the same time and nobody can be step forward attacking. So let us play a little bit tricky in this calm opening. So we do this first development move, bishop c4, bishop c5, and here we are not in a hurry to castle. That's the key point. You should remember not to be hurried to castle. You continue development, like you develop knight c3, and you wait your opening to castle first. That's the key point in the Italian opening in this calm position. As soon as you open in castle, you should pin this knight. And in this position already, this pin is dangerous for black because their king is castled and our is still in the center. So we pin this knight, and how this game could follow. We attack, of course, this pinned piece, and we already treat to double pawns, but these pawns already defend their king, which is dangerous for black. And for example, if they do symmetrically pin our knight, we do this first. We attack the rook, we double their pawn, we attack the rook, and here we can just move our queen to the game. We don't afraid doubling our pawns because we have not our king castle, or else we can attack this bishop, annoying bishop, and if it goes, we're going to attack it. We don't afraid to move pawns because again our king is not castled, and on this trade we can move our queen to the game. We don't afraid this attacking because we already do check and checkmate. We are on the step first. Or else, for example, if they go back, if they retreat, we continue moving pawns on king's flank. We don't afraid it, our king is not there. We just move pawns attacking, and we can route our knight like this, and we can move h pawn, and we are good. We have good attacking opportunities. For example, h4, we are gonna attack this trapped bishop. They must to think how to survive. f5, for example, but h5 already wins the game because if take an attacking knight instead, doesn't help because we already near the king, and we make this fork to the king and the rook already. So black must resign here. So again, this is the basic symmetrical variation of Italian game, and the key point to remember here is develop but not to be hurry in a castle. We are waiting for our opponent to castle instead, and immediately pin this f6 knight, which is also key point, when we're gonna attack it with our knight to put it in the center. We put our knight to d5 to attack it. Black, of course, would try to do the same, but the difference here, our king is secure in the center and the black king is dead in the corner, castled, because we can quickly move our queen to the game. We're not afraid doubling these pawns. We actually, in this position, can just sacrifice the knight because queen h6 already wins, because this strong knight goes with checkmate treatment and black must say goodbye to the queen. So we remember this main idea. After the first developing moves, bishop c4, bishop c5, knight c3, knight c6, we try to let this bishop out and pin this knight, and then put our knight in the center, and not to hurry to be castling. This is the main point. But what if our opponent is also clever enough and he play h6 to prevent our pin? We should play h3 to not let him pin our knight, and again we wait for castling because everybody wants castling. And here we have this plan B with g pawn movement, because after h6 is played we can move g pawn to pin this pawn, and again we implement this pin but after the pawn movement, and plus we get this g open file as a bonus. After that we play the same way, put knight to the center. For example, black traded, we traded. They want to play symmetrically, but we doesn't care because we have open g file and we ready to put our queen to the game, to the attacking game. Queen f3, we attack this knight 2 times, for example. They need to rebuild their pieces somehow to defend it, and yeah, finally we move our rook to the game just opposite the king. It's dangerous rook, so they must hide their king, and we include our queen to attack, because now what we do now, we treat to go, for example, bishop h6 to attack this g7 checkmate point, or else we can make check with queen to h4, or else we can move our h pawn. Let's check, for example, queen h4 check, and then take, and after that it's lost for black. So just remember, if our opponent doesn't allow us pin this knight, we move g pawn. We don't afraid to move it because we keep our king in the center, and we don't afraid to move king's flank pawns. So we just analyze this main variation, which gonna be symmetric, but we learned this trick not to castle to avoid the full symmetry. We also learned how to react if our opponent prevents this g5 pin. We just move our g pawn. What if you're preparing to the more strong opponent who is aware of it and you want to play more strategy? The more strategy move here would be c3. We support d4 pawn in advance, like we did in Ruy Lopez, watch if you cannot, like we did in many other variations. c3 prevents d4 movement. It's more strategic, it avoids symmetric position, and we just take the center with the pawns d4. With the tempo, we attack this bishop on c5, but for example, in this certain position, we already can see that it's overloaded center because we can trade, and if knight takes, we just take the central pawn, and else if king takes, we take this another pawn. Just catch these moments. So we will continue learning this c3 variation in the next video. If you wish in your comment, just let me know if you want to continue. For now, I just give you this tip that c3 is more strategic than basic Italian variation. So we'll see you in the next video to continue c3 variation learning.